Yes, good evening. My name is Wallace Gator Bradley, and I'm the host of the Bradley Report. I'm also the president and the urban translator for United Peace Inc. We got a very important show, okay? We're going to talk about the continuance of the violence that's happening in Chicago. As y'all know, Chicago leads the country in the most mass shootings. And the evilness of it is that the mass shootings are being done by African Americans to African Americans. We're going to talk about the most important thing about J.B. Pritzker. He makes the announcement that he's going to run again. That's wonderful. He needs to run for re-election. There are some things that he got to put in place that he didn't do during his first election. But the wonderful thing about it is by him making his announcement in 2021, he can show that he's accountable before 2021 ends to prove to the voters that he's electable. Okay? We're going to talk about the McDonald's suit by these women. But I want to say this. All these things, all these topics wouldn't be happening without the help and the direction of the producer and the director of the Bradley Report. None other than the chairman of United Peace Inc., my wife, Terry Marsh Bradley, and the technical wherewithal that make everything happen is being done by Brother Omari. So with no further ado, let me say to you, to God be the glory. Omari, let's go to work. You know, there's a lot that's been happening over the weekend, as y'all know. If you don't know, I love to step. I'm a stepper. You know, I go anywhere to go step, be it in Atlanta, be it in Houston, be it on the west side, on the south side, in the suburbs. But this time, my topic at the stepper sets wasn't telling them to vote, don't choke, even though that's important. But what I shared with them was showing how we all are a part of putting our hands on deck to help turn the tide against this senseless violence. So I was talking with Pete Frazier and my cousin Jerry Rooks and the Majestic Gents and the stepping community to let them know that we need to push this narrative dealing with the code to put morality back into our communities to help make it safe. What do you mean by that, Gator? I'm glad you asked. The code where senseless shootings and killings, the abuse and the rape of women and children, the abuse, the robbery, and the disrespect of elders is a no-no, will not be tolerated in the community. And what that does, it helps keep a negative energy from coming back to our communities because individuals violated that code. And it starts with us telling our children, our grandchildren, our sisters and brothers to help push this code through these social media platforms. Okay? Now, without further ado, Omari, let's go to work.
anyone that get harmed from you firing that gun, that's an innocent bystander. We asking the community, ostracize them, push them out, don't let them hide anywhere, don't support them, and let law enforcement do their job.
The code is this. If you pick up that gun to solve your problem, I'm not endorsing violence. I'm saying you're violating the code if you discharge that weapon and innocent people get shot or killed, especially a child or an elderly person. And the community must uphold that code.
He got his shoe shined.
The reason that it worked in the 90s, because everyone was a part of it. Kids, women, elderly, was off limits.
You didn't touch him.
Didn't touch him.
Ostracized from the community, pushed me out of the community, not supporting you in the community or protecting you in the community, so that law enforcement can do their job by apprehending you. And the Cook County State's Attorney can do her job by making sure that you get a fair prosecution. This is so that there's no retaliation in the community because you discharge or you fire that weapon at your intended target.
We all got to come together. Those of you, my name is Wallace Katie Bradley. I'm the urban translator. I'm the president of United Peacekeepers. We all got to come together to let it be known that Black lives matter everywhere. Regardless if the police shoot somebody that's black, it means twice as much to our community when someone black is shooting someone black.
With at least 8 children under the age of 10 shot in the city in just 2 weeks, some are asking if that code still carries any weight.
This is something that we got to do.
Gator catches up with some friends on Calumet.
That 1-year-old that got killed.
His conversations of late have focused on kids getting shot. He says the rule still applies.
We as men got to put it down and say that still exists. It never left.
We all got a responsibility.
We all got a responsibility, man.
But it never left.
I'm going to call out to all the brothers. You know what we do. Put the word on the street that this is no longer tolerated. Men homes work together and we know how it works. We've been able to help individuals turn themselves in of the community, kick them out, but law enforcement to come and arrest them. Now is the time. Just like it was a video from Miss Frazier and let everybody know about the awakening of George Floyd. Somebody got a video, or we need to use our video to stop this senseless violence.
And I believe that vengeance belongs to the Lord. And with that, I want to say, to God be the glory. And that's my story. You know, I play this as my intro. I've been doing it for about a year. And the only difference in last year is the continuation of violence against these babies and innocent individuals. I want you to pay attention to this story I'm about to bring up. Right there, that's right there. Second teen died in North Lawndale mass shooting. About to come up 1 minute. Last week, it was 3 mass shootings in less than 24 hours in Chicago.
16-year-old Davian Wright was shot in the head, and Chicago police say 5 people, including Wright and another teen, were injured last Wednesday. This was right near West 13th Street and South Christiana Avenue. It was one of 2 mass shootings in the area last week.
Well, we had technical difficulties, but that's not difficult. There was 2 mass shootings on the west side and 1 on the south side. In Chicago, I had a friend that went to California, and he said, Gator, there's mass shootings everywhere. But everyone is talking about Chicago being the leading city. Mayor Lightfoot, last year, had put an anti-violence plan in the works. Said last year, Mayor Lori Lightfoot unveiled an ambitious plan to narrow Chicago's safety gap. The deep disparity among neighborhoods where some residents are 42 times more likely to be shot. The plan was called Our City, Our Safety. It proposed flooding the 15 most violent communities with resources. I want to share something with you about that. It says, yet the administration has yet to funnel any extra assistance. This was in the story that I just showed you, July 26th. Yet the administration has yet to funnel any extra assistance to some of the most dangerous neighborhoods, particularly on the far south side, according to the city's website. The West Pullman community area, for example, has received none of the $36 million that was released by City Hall under the plan this year. In a few months, Lightfoot's administration will announce how much of $1.8 billion in federal stimulus aid should go to West Pullman and the other neighborhoods it has targeted. Neighborhoods that have accounted for 50% of the violence in Chicago over the last 3 years. Experts in the field, some of them involved in the debates over what to fund, say the plan is admirable, but they have serious doubts about the way it's being implemented. In interviews with the Sun-Times, they questioned Lightfoot's management style, her ability to get things done. They also claim much of the money so far has been going to establish outreach groups, while overlooking jobs and education programs that may be more expensive and more complicated to administer. But this professor, a friend of mine, Brother Lance Williams, urban studies professor at Northeastern Illinois University, who has sat in on the funding discussions, he says the problem is that there are no resources attached to the plan to make it actionable. The city's approach is just to PR their way through the shootings. As gun violence continued to spike this summer, the mayor has repeatedly touted the plan as an all hands on deck. But all hands are not on deck because there's a lot of people that could aid the city. And I want to say this, even if we're not in the meeting, we need to do what we have to do to aid and stop the violence because we become the targets. And what people are saying is a terrorist activity. I want to say this, because I'm not speaking on theory. I'm speaking about solutions. In 1995, they had the same type of problem. It's worse now today. But if you don't have the individuals, inclusive of myself, in the meeting with others like Prince Asiel, like the people that helped put together 21st Century Vote, United in Peace, on the west side and the south side, to be there to show you what we did for us to become a part. That's why I open up the piece about the stepper community, saying that they can do things, which is right. Telephone, telegram, tell a Negro. Tell our children that since the shootings and killings, the raping of women and children, and the abuse and the robbery of our seniors is a no-no. With that, I want to say we can do it. We got to do it. It's our community. It's happening in all other communities. But I'm concerned that the majority of the senseless shootings and mass shootings is happening in our community by African Americans, not no Martians. African Americans who are someone's children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters. Now I want to get to the next issue that's very important. J.B. Pritzker, the governor, the man who I helped to elect, the man who I support. I want to get that clear. When you hear me talking about him, it's constructive criticism. Because I'm accountable to the people that I convinced to vote for him. Some things he didn't do and some things he ought to do. And I'm sure by June 22nd, the things that he's supposed to do and didn't do, he'll do them. Hit this from me, Brother Omari.
And the governor's decision is not a surprise at all. It was only a matter of when he was going to make the announcement that he's running for re-election. Pritzker trying to capitalize on his handling of the pandemic.
I want to be 100% clear about what will drive my decision-making in the weeks ahead. Science.
Governor J.B. Pritzker releasing a 3-minute campaign video this afternoon to formally launch his re-election bid, touting his handling of the pandemic.
Strong leadership helped get us to the other side of this crisis.
If there was any surprise at all, it's that the entire 3-minute video centered on the pandemic, that there really wasn't much discussion of other things that happened in his first term.
Republicans pounced, the state party director criticizing Pritzker for mishandling the LaSalle Veterans Home situation where 36 vets died from the virus, for the failures of the state unemployment agency, and for bowing to teachers' unions and not getting students back in school. In the ad, Pritzker admits he didn't handle everything right these past 16 months.
Look, I may not have gotten every decision right, but at every step along the way, I followed the science and focused on protecting the lives and livelihoods of the people of Illinois.
6 weeks ago, the governor was still playing coy about his political future.
Do you want another 4-year term? You know, again, I haven't talked to my family completely about this, and I need to spend time with them.
Few believe the billionaire governor would not run again, given the fact that in March he'd pumped $35 million of his own fortune into his campaign coffers. Professor Caliendo wondering if concerns about the Delta variant could have played into the timing of today's announcement.
There may have been a concern that if we had to move back into a different phase in a few months, maybe that would be a bad time to launch something, especially if you're going to center it on the pandemic.
Earlier this year, lawmakers passed legislation to move next year's primary from March back to June. That bill awaits the governor's signature. Pritzker is not expected to have any serious challengers in the primary. The Republican field already has several announced candidates, with more likely to join the race. Alan.
You know, that's wonderful. Pritzker using that piece about the COVID and the things that he's done, right? But there's a lot of things that he done wrong. And one of the main things is he refused to enforce the Illinois Nursing Home Care Act, Section 8, against nursing homes who aren't in compliance. When he refused to do this, it locks the hands of the 122 county state's attorneys, including the state's attorney, Cook County State's Attorney Kim Foxx, as well as the Attorney General's hands, and stops them from going in and investigate the nursing homes that are in violation. Lives could have been saved, okay? A lot of people died, not just in the veterans home, 36. One case in particular, that I have been involved in is the case of Lottie Smith, Westchester Nursing Home. The governor knew about Westchester Nursing Home and knew that they weren't in compliance. They filed a suit. The suit against COVID racked nursing home can continue despite Pritzker's immunity order. What they mean by that, J.B. Pritzker was trying to do an executive order because of the COVID to make it where nursing homes would not be held liable for willful neglect. Employees that had the COVID was told to come to work, not by J.B. Pritzker, but by Westchester Nursing Home Rehabilitation Center in Winchester, which is in the Speaker Walsh's representative district. They filed the suit, and the nursing home tried to get the suit dismissed. And Miss Lottie Smith, Loretta, a friend of mine's daughter, died because of the willful neglect that happened in that nursing home. She even caught the COVID. Omari, could you pull that up a little bit for me? The story, yeah. Could you pull it up? Right there. A lawsuit against West Suburban Nursing Home where 12 people died last year from coronavirus can go forward despite Governor J.B. Pritzker's executive order last year, granting privately owned nursing homes broad protection against being sued over COVID-19 illnesses, a federal judge has ruled. Westchester Health and Rehabilitation Center, which had 46 reported coronavirus cases last year, is being sued by the families of Rita Saunders and Lottie Smith, who contracted the virus while living in there in March 2020. So J.B. Pritzker, this is one of the things that you can do, sir, and I'm asking you to do, especially with this new strain of COVID-19 going across the country and coming to Illinois. I believe it's here already. Please, now that you have made the COVID piece and the fine work that you said you have done. Continue the fine work, but go a step further and make it better by enforcing the Nursing Home Care Act against those bad nursing homes that aren't in compliance. Free the hands of the state's attorneys from around the state of Illinois. And free the hands from the Attorney General to do what he can do to make sure that those nursing homes come into compliance, find them, do what you got to do. But it will save people's lives. Okay? That's an actionable thing that you can do up under the guise of accountability. Instead of promising if you get elected, you'll do that now. That's the law. We're going to move on from that. I want to say, first off, I support J.B. Pritzker. I'm going to vote for J.B. Pritzker. I'm going to ask other people to vote for J.B. Pritzker. But J.B., the people, especially the family members of individuals in those nursing homes, are expecting you to enforce the Nursing Home Care Act. Hopefully you'll do it before the Vote Budgeting Day parade. Let's get on to the next though, because I got to wrap this show up. Let's get on to the next issue, and I'm talking about the Don't Be My Food. The judge trims the suit claiming McDonald's purged black executives, franchisees from the company. A Chicago judge has pared the discrimination suit against McDonald's by two executives who alleges that corporate brass thinned black executives and franchisees from the company's ranks. The June 25th ruling on motions to strike and dismiss were issued by Judge Mary Rowland. The judge made a decision that these two women, Ms. Neal and Ms. Hines, can go forth because there's evidence of discrimination, the continuance of discrimination by McDonald's. They brought this suit to redress McDonald's continued pattern and practice of intentional race discrimination that should outrage everyone, especially those who grew up going to McDonald's and believing the Golden Arches were swell, said plaintiff's attorney Carmen Caruso and Linda Chapman of Chapman Law Offices in Chicago in a court filing. Plaintiffs alleged McDonald's had a covert policy of racism before this guy Easterbrook's arrival, but under Easterbrook's leadership engaged in overt discrimination to drive out black executives, employees, and franchisees, according to the plaintiffs. McDonald's allegedly chased away almost 1/3 of African American franchise holders through allegedly unfair grading systems and requirements that make burdensome capital expenditures. The company further allegedly reduced its advertising aimed at blacks, which decreased businesses at black-operated franchises. In addition, the plaintiff said McDonald's fired 30 black executives and demoted several more, including Ms. Hines and Neal, between 2014 and 2019. The plaintiffs claimed that white executives were not terminated or demoted at the same rate. But despite the earlier ruling, The judge made a decision and a memorandum order to this suit that McDonald's can be sued for discrimination, for all the wrong things that they've been doing. And I want to say this before I go off. McDonald's engaging in systemic corporate racism. There are congressmen that's trying to set up a hearing in Washington, D.C. dealing with systemic racism. I want to say this. The Don't Be My Food, the United in Peace, Inc., Don't Be My Food, National Peaceful Educational Protest against McDonald's systemic racism against black people is a movement that's dealing with the eradication of systemic racism. With that, I want to say, to God be the glory. Stay prayerful. Even if you vaccinated, still wear your mask, because that new strain is out there. And pray that our governor enforce the Nursing Care Act. To God be the glory. That's my story. And I thank you. Good evening, good night, and wear your mask.